I would like to move on to the final item, which is a presentation by CNSC staff on the forest fires in northern Saskatchewan, as outlined in CMD 15M36. I'd like to acknowledge the participation of a representative from Cameco Corporation, Arriva Resources Canada, and CNC staff who are joining us via video conferencing in Saskatoon. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Dr. Newland, floor is yours.
Good afternoon. So it's just me. Oh, and Ramsey.
Got online a whole contingent here of people.
Do we have Mark Langdon on the line?
Yes, you do.
Okay. So, for the finale. Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the Commission. My name is Dave Newland. I'm the Acting Director General of the Directorate of Nuclear Cycle and Facilities Regulation. You've already heard who we have at the Saskatoon office, and it will be Mark Langdon who will be really leading the presentation. So this presentation will provide information on the forest fires that occurred this year in northern Saskatchewan.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm counting now 6 people over there, so maybe since we see you here in high definition, so could you introduce yourself?
Okay, I'll start. I'm Mark Langdon, Acting Director for Uranium Mines and Mills.
Jim Corman, Vice President Operations and Projects for Arriva.
Lacey Wallace, Project Officer in the Saskatoon office.
Sarah Eaton, Project Officer in Saskatoon.
Jean Alonso, I'm Director of Transportation Materials Management for Cameco.
Kevin Augie, Cameco's Director of Compliance and Licensing for Saskatchewan.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Newland, over to you.
Thank you. So this presentation will provide information on the forest fires that occurred this year in northern Saskatchewan in the context of how they affect the operating uranium mines and mills. We thought this would be of interest to Commission members, and as you are aware, forest fires occur regularly in Canada every year, but they were quite exceptional for North Saskatchewan in 2015. So Mark, I'll pass it over to you. Thank you.
Okay, Mark Langdon for the record. Good afternoon, Mr. President and members of the Commission. Forest fires in northern Saskatchewan are a normal yearly occurrence. In 2015, an extensive period with little to no precipitation combined with hot temperatures provided the conditions for an increased number of forest fires of greater extent. This slide displays that in 2015, as of August 12th, there were nearly twice as many fires, which have burnt 3 times the total area compared to the 10-year average in Saskatchewan for a full year. Fires continue to burn today, but at a reduced rate in intensity due to recent precipitation, which has reduced the fire risk to a low rating. Next slide, please. Although the fires were of greater number and extent than average, most of the fires occurred far to the south of the uranium mine and mill facilities. In 2015, there have been no fires in close proximity to the uranium mine and mill operations requiring active firefighting efforts. Prior to 2015, conditions during 2003 and 2012 also resulted in more significant forest fire seasons. In both of those years, fires were burning in very close proximity to uranium mine and mill facilities. Licensees required active firefighting efforts in those years, working under the direction of the provincial firefighters to ensure the operations were protected. CNSC staff is confident confident with the licensee's capabilities to respond to threatening forest fires in protecting the uranium mine and mill facilities in cooperation with provincial authorities. Next slide, please. As previously stated, the uranium mine and mill facilities in northern Saskatchewan were not directly threatened by forest fires in 2015 and have continued normal operations. Forest fires continue to burn today and are being actively monitored and managed by provincial authorities. In 2015, a number of northern Saskatchewan communities, including L'Orange, required evacuation due to smoke, as well as the extent and proximity of the fires. Evacuation notices for the communities have now been lifted, and evacuees have returned to their communities. Next slide, please. The fires affected a large portion of Saskatchewan, either through the impact of smoke on air quality, disruptions to normal business activities, or to the direct safety of several northern communities. 13,000 people were evacuated and displaced for several weeks to southern centers such as Saskatoon, Prince Albert, and Regina, which provided care and shelter during this forest fire event. Uranium mine and mill licensees participated in the relief effort by providing assistance to community members and shelter organizations throughout the forest fire event. Next slide, please. The forest fires resulted in situations and impacts to the mines and mills requiring their attention and mitigation. Licensee corporate crisis management was activated to help control and mitigate these impacts. The mines and mills are dependent on transportation by trucking for operational supplies, including fuels, processed chemicals, parts, food, etc. The fires to the south caused temporary road closures and delays for trucks and supplies. To ensure the safe transport of personnel and supplies, the Ministry of Highways provided escorts for vehicle convoys. Critical operation supplies were monitored at the facilities, and yellow cake shipments by truck to Saskatoon were voluntarily suspended through much of July. Workers at the uranium mine and mill facilities are flown to work from pickup locations in Saskatoon, Prince Albert, L'Orange, and other northern Saskatchewan communities. Due to community evacuations, licensees had to modify employee pickup points to allow people to get to work and get home to their families. Some employees were also released by the licensees to aid in the firefighting efforts in their home communities. Licensees did not require evacuation of employees from their operating facilities due to the forest fires. Next slide, please. Licensees have contingency plans to deal with emergency situations, accidents, and natural disasters such as fires. Sites are equipped with firefighting equipment, fire trucks, and ambulances to deal with such emergencies. All facilities develop and train emergency response teams that are first responders to all site emergencies, both on the surface and underground. Part of their emergency response training is on fire prevention and firefighting. Emergency response teams from all uranium mine and mill facilities have mutual assistance agreements to work together whenever necessary. Uranium mine and mill facilities only fight forest fires when the fires directly threaten their site, and this is done under the direction of provincial wildfire authorities. Licensee response is mainly in the form of fire prevention, and such as maintaining or increasing fire breaks and setting up sprinkler systems around the facility. They do not actively go out from the facilities to directly fight fires. In the event that a forest fire cuts off the main electrical power line grid, facilities have the ability to maintain full operations through on-site diesel generators. The amount of diesel stored at site and the ability to replenish diesel supplies is a contingency issue that is monitored by the licensees. If on-site power is required for extended periods of time, the facilities can operate and maintain in a safe shutdown state with only critical systems operating, such as effluent treatment or underground water pumping. The environment and the health and safety of workers would be protected. Next slide, please. Licensees provided various forms of assistance to evacuees. Saskatoon, Larange, and Prince Albert-based employees volunteered to daily assist the Red Cross. 81 Pine House residents were temporarily housed at the Key Lake operation. Firefighting equipment and personnel was provided to the community of Pine House to assist during community evacuation, and collection bins were set up at licensee offices for donations. Next slide, please. The CNSC monitored the forest fire situation closely and kept up to date with fire progression through licensee reports, information from the province of Saskatchewan, and the local Emergency Operations Center. CNSC staff kept management aware by providing a report to the CNSC Executive Committee while also actively communicating the fire status on the CNSC website, Facebook, and Twitter. Next slide, please. The province of Saskatchewan's Ministry of the Environment is the lead authority responsible for all forest fire fighting efforts in Saskatchewan. The province has developed a firefighting program that provides resources and coordinates firefighting strategies. In cases of imminent threat to public safety, it can order evacuation of the affected areas, which in 2015 resulted in 1/3 of the northern residents being evacuated. The province also maintains and supervises the use of public roads through the Ministry of Highways and Infrastructure. During emergency events, transportation routes may be altered or suspended based on the conditions encountered on the ground. Next slide, please. The 2015 forest fire situation in northern Saskatchewan attracted a significant amount of media attention, both locally and nationally. As previously mentioned, CNSC provided updates on their internal and external communication networks in response to the heavy media coverage. Local newspapers and television stations provided daily reports of fire progression and impacts to the northern communities, while provincial authorities responsible for managing the fires informed the public of the fire status by providing updates on Facebook, daily fire maps, and highway closure reports. Federal authorities such as Natural Resources Canada and Health Canada also provided updates and resources when required. The licensees' social networking efforts were valuable in informing their employees and other interested stakeholders on operational issues and community assistance being provided. Next slide, please. To conclude the presentation, I would like to reiterate that forest fires in northern Saskatchewan were a normal seasonal occurrence. In 2015, the unusually dry and hot conditions resulted in an increased number of forest fires with greater intensity. There have been no fires in close proximity to the uranium mine and mill operations that required employee evacuation or required active firefighting efforts by the province and licensees to ensure that operations were protected. CNSC staff is satisfied that the licensee's fire response management is effective and that their contingency plans are acceptable and protective of the health and safety of employees and the environment. Communications to the public by CNSC and licensee were timely and transparent. Licensees mitigated operational impacts resulting in no risk to the health and safety of workers or to the environment at the operating mine and mill facilities. CNSC staff and Cameco Areva representatives are now available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.